There you
go. So it was on mine, which was doing the recording.
Just start.
But thanks.
I'd rather have lager than wine. I'll take a strong stout over stride. I prefer to confer with a half pint of ale than live a long life till my private parts fail. For life without liquor is to no avail. So bring me lager for life. I'd rather have lager than wine.
Don't say the man can't follow directions, because he sure can.
Rob has no concept of the...
Live from our PNR studios in California, New York, and Texas, it's the Pint of No Return Show, episode 30. Tonight, we go to an island in Estonia to drink their luscious American Pale Ale, and we discuss the Mount Ruchmore of U.S. breweries and inventions. Plus, as always, our pick segments for the week. You know them, you love them. Gary, Jeremy, and Keith, welcome to the Pint of No Return Show! And me, Rob.
Hey, Rob. Hey, Rob. Hey, Keith.
Hello.
That's a great start considering we haven't even opened the beer yet.
No, exactly.
It's only uphill from here.
That's right.
It's only uphill from here.
Well, there's one of these things that, called lag, and I wait till it says as this podcast is live on my screen, and I start my intro, but apparently it didn't say live on Rob's
I will tell
screen
you,
yet.
Nor mine.
This is over my intro.
I will tell you that the other 29 times we have done the show, it says live almost immediately, and then you start talking. This time it did not, so I wasn't sure if you'd actually...
Well, when in doubt, interrupt.
Okay.
That's the way to go. That's definitely
I
the way
agree.
to go.
I definitely agree. All right,
So for anybody paying attention at home, this is season 1, episode 30.
30.
For October 2014.
That's right. This episode has already been marked and is being monitored for the next 21 days. So, watched for signs of beer, signs of levity, and signs of just going deeper and deeper into the dumper. So, tonight,
Check.
we're going to go straight into the beer. First of all, thank you to the Poxy Boggards, Stu Venable, for the use of their music. PoxyBoggards.com, iTunes.com if you want to find out more about them. But we're going to go back to an old friend of the Happy Time Magic Hour, actually. New to the Pint of No Return show. We're going to talk about the folks at Anchor, who have got the number 6 Saaremaa Island Ale. It's part of their Zymaster series. Gary and Jeremy actually know quite a bit about this little brew, and they're going to tell us more about it.
I know that Jeremy knows a lot about it.
I'll tell you everything I know about it. So, some of the guys at Anchor went to this island. Saaremaa, I think, is how they were saying it. It's an Estonian island in the
4 A's in
Baltic
it,
Sea.
just so you know. 4 A's.
4 A's. And Anchor has an A, so there's 5 A's. And Zymaster has an A. Lots of A's.
There's an A in the name of the beer for each of us on the show.
Ooh.
The A team. Oh! Hear more about that later.
Summoned it.
No!
Timing and everything.
Okay. So,
And just like
A's.
that, ruined.
I'm going to open
down.
this beer.
Oh, but you mentioned...
I also said we'll hear from them later, but that's okay.
Well, you said you do it as the
I heard
intro to
from
the
them
beer
sooner.
segment.
All right, you guys. Let Jeremy finish.
Oh my God, you're absolutely right. I forgot. You're right. God damn it! I'm so sorry. You're absolutely right. I just screwed up the whole show. Oh.
Nothing if not well planned.
Oh,
we
no.
should start over.
Yeah, let's start.
Yeah, let's start. We start over. Take 2.
Episode 31.
Live. All right.
So this,
Yeah, go
back to the beer. So this beer is inspired by the beers they had on this island, and they brought back some yeast from the island, which is a native strain, which gives it some of its signature flavors.
Sounds like
They describe it as reminiscent of Belgian yeasts,
It
um,
smells very good.
and also describe it as having old world hop flavor. So not probably not a super hoppy West Coast beer.
I once
Looking
brought
forward
back
to seeing
yeast from
what
Mexico,
they
but
did
it's
with
an
this.
entirely different thing.
Didn't make beer with that, did you?
Well, the yeast he brought back in his beard.
Yeah.
Was it?
No, that
And
was
then
I
continued
think
to
that was a
cultivate?
different brewer.
That was Rogue.
No. That was Rogue did the
I love
beard
it when
beer.
I love it when things are snuck out of communist or formerly communist countries.
Well, basically anything snuck through customs is pretty awesome.
I think it's easy to get stuff out of those countries, harder to get them into ours, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
think so.
Maybe not. Not really. No.
Not these days.
Not these days.
Well,
All
I've already poured.
This
Oh,
So
This
this
is
guy here,
interesting.
ridiculous.
I guess you better open.
it's an American Pale Ale of a 6.0% ABV,
Mm.
and the guys, the California guys, Jeremy that sent us this, didn't skimp. We got the full pint 6 ounce
Yeah.
bad boy here.
And look, it makes a great camera filter
It
too.
does.
I can just do the whole podcast.
It does smell yeasty.
It does smell yeasty.
It's very yeasty. It's
Oh,
very yeasty, but
wow.
it has those like tropical notes that you sometimes find in Belgian.
It's light too. Yeah, it
smells
is.
It's almost
delightful.
like a coconut and banana kind of scent too.
Well, I mean, as far as I'm
Mhm.
concerned, Acres can do nothing but go up. So hopefully this is good.
Yeah, we've not had a good history with Anchor here on the show
Well,
or on the previous show.
I'll remind you, Rob. You and I liked the Steam. It's the West Coasters that don't like it.
Yeah, I don't remember liking the Steam, but I'll take your word for it. I could be
gonna
wrong.
drink?
I remember liking You have to
I know
be.
my short-term memory is my short-term memory. I was going to say is
short.
guys. Have I ever told you about my short-term memory?
Oh.
All right, so here we go. We got the light foamy kind of head here happening, and as Gary
Yeah,
said,
it's
it's a
nice.
really crisp, clean smell, and man, it smells good. All right, I'm ready.
Well, then drink it.
All right,
Prost.
let's go.
Oh. Hey.
Wow. That is Belgian-y.
Mm-hmm.
My, oh my.
That's a ridiculously flavorful brew without being hoppy.
Wow.
Rob's still drinking, which is a good sign.
There's a lot going on in that thing.
Yeah, I would be happy to go first on this one.
Go for it.
The,
Take it away.
Sarima? Is that what you guys, they were saying that? Sarima?
That's close
Yeah.
enough for me.
Close
This
enough for our show.
is just a damn fine beer. Really, really good. It's got a nice kind of buttery texture, slight sweetness without being too overpowering, but it is there. I mean, you definitely do taste the sweet of it. Like I said, really buttery texture. You got the wheat taste to it, and there's a lot of different layers going on, as Keith was saying. Some little banana tropical notes, like he was smelling there. Yep, those are there too.
Mm-hmm.
Finish is really nice. It is, boy, it's delicious. I will give this a 10. This is easily a 10 for me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
this is.
You go.
Go ahead, Gary.
No, you. It's all you.
All right. I'm getting a lot of the exact same things you got, Rob. Lots of layers here, lots and lots of flavor. Very much reminds me of a Belgian beer with the kind of estery banana clove, but not like you'd have in a Hefeweizen, but more like, it's like a Belgian beer or a Trappist ale. Man, this is
Almost like a.
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
little without quite so much funkiness. Really, really well balanced as far as the mouthfeel. Nice maltiness. It's not overly hopped. It's not too sweet. It's it's a really well-made beer. Wish I had a couple more of these. I drank them tonight, I think. So I think I'll go with a 10 on this because it's really interesting and unique, and I think they did a really good job with trying to do something a little different and interesting and experimental. So I don't really have a style to compare it to, but it's a great beer.
Yeah, this is this is definitely the best Anchor beer I have ever had, without a doubt. It's clean, it is crisp, it does have a lot going, and to me the nose is almost more complex than the actual flavor, but it is really, really good. I mean, it has the mouthfeel and texture and color of a really pale ale. I mean, like a really pale ale, not even a normal pale ale, much paler. But it really tastes like something out of Europe, especially Belgium. I can see why they put that on the label. So
or
yeah,
Austrian, maybe Austrian too.
Maybe, yeah, but definitely got a lot of the yeast characteristic in it, which I think really makes this a more interesting beer than a lot of things coming out of Anchor, especially, but a lot of pale ales in general. Everything tries to be hoppy now, but it's nice to get a lot of complex flavor without just loading up the hop. So this is a really, really good, excellent beer. So I'm going to give it a 9.
Reminds me a lot of the Wells Banana Bread beer, Rob, that we had way back in season 1. I still just
Also, one of our favorites, yeah.
A good solid beer. It does have that kind of almost banana-y flavor to it too, like tropical fruits, maybe some pineapple and banana to it, but very, very, very clean. A little sweet. The malt lets you not forget that it's a beer, but it's just like Gary said it, that it's really refreshing to find something this super hopped. Kind of neat to see what regular beers can still be made and made well.
Mm-hmm.
I'm with you guys, dead on. I'm going to give it a 9 too, only because there are a few other beers I can think of rather having, but that would be perfectly stocked. This would definitely be one of the ones in it. So it's fantastic.
So that's a 9.5.
Yeah,
for
definitely
us.
the best.
9.5.
9.5. That is the highest rated beer we have ever done.
Yeah.
This is a really good beer.
Really excellent.
It is.
Yeah.
It gets an. It only gets an 84, which is still pretty good on Beer Advocate. I would have thought a little bit higher, but lots of 3.5s and 3.25s and 3s. I don't know. I think the Beer Advocate folks tend to favor the hoppier beers, and this isn't like that. So I mean, I guess I understand why they rate it the way they do, but
hipster factor. Thing that's very well known and nationally distributed automatically gets kicked out of the 90s real fast.
Yeah, that's true.
So
The finish on this beer is awesome too.
It's wonderful.
On and on.
It's got a really pleasant flavor that sticks with you. Some beers, after you take a sip and then you're talking to somebody after a minute or two, a conversation, you kind of get this little bit of funk going on. But this is just really, really pleasant. I can see this pairing with a lot of food really well, a lot of different kinds of food really well.
The carbonation is like perfect too. It's just on a sip, but if you take some gulps, it kind of starts to burn. Oh, it's just it's well played all the way through.
It's a
really
good burn, as they say.
Yeah, definitely.
I know this is a beer too. I would say could be enhanced if you wanted to, although I wouldn't do it myself because I think it's delicious, but it could be enhanced with some beer salt as well.
No, I'm not going to even try that.
Mm.
I wouldn't either, but I think
If you did one, I can see like the chocolate one
yes,
doing
I was thinking the chocolate.
it.
I
Just
got
add
my
a little more.
finally got my 4-pack of brew salts,
Depth.
and I can't put them in here.
No.
No.
Sorry.
No.
Sorry.
Good thing, but on a super wonderful beer like this, you want it to
No,
stand
like I
alone.
said, I wouldn't do it either, but I could see someone doing it.
Yeah. Is this something they're going to brew on a regular basis? Do you know?
I think
Jeremy?
the Zymaster stuff is a limited edition, limited release.
There's
Although
Zymaster-
I would assume they have a stock of this yeast that they stuck in a refrigerator somewhere and they're
This is-
cultivating it. But
I would hope so.
Part of their, as they say on the bottle, their Zymaster series. It's a term that they coined, but it's an A to Z process of creating the beer, from researching and selection of the raw materials to developing the recipe to all the different parts of the brewing process from start to finish. It's the same brewmaster or the same team from start to finish. So, I mean, I don't know personally how many craft breweries do that. I'm assuming more than a few, but
Yeah.
I'm guessing a lot of them.
Well, I mean, some of the bigger breweries have multiple brewers that are doing things. Like Stone has different people doing different
right. But
things.
I'm sure some of the craft breweries too. They send away for hops or they send away for some of their raw materials. It sounds like these guys are really more involved in selecting individual ingredients to put in, maybe more so than others. I don't know.
Yeah. So, well, I think what's interesting about this beer, and that maybe what gives it so much of the characteristics, is that it is a wild yeast that they're using. So it's not a yeast that was developed in a lab.
right, so it'll have some characteristics that you're not going to find in other beers from other breweries.
Now, this is from
Okay. Again, very akin to the.
This
Yeah.
is from the San Francisco area, guys. I don't. Just a question: do they have places there where Anchor is on tap?
At the brew house, and there's
I would love to try this draft. Oh,
you could find all over the place, unfortunately.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
I've never seen this on tap, but the regular steam beer, you can get it pretty much a lot of places.
And I would guess this is on tap at their at the brewery and maybe not anywhere else.
Yeah,
so
that's what
a
it
bit
is.
of history: the highest rated beer thus far on the show.
Yeah.
Man, that's very nice. Good job.
Mhm.
And with that, we're going to move on to our Pint Taken segment. Wow.
That was
That
exciting.
had a punch. That had a punch.
I'm
All right,
I'm stressed out now.
tonight on the Pine and Hill Return Show, we're going to take a look at a couple of our Mount Rushmores. If you've never done this before, it's a great topic of conversation to do with your friends or at work. Who is on your Mount Rushmore of actors? What is on your Mount Rushmore of sci-fi movies? Or what's your Mount Rushmore of acne care products? I don't know. Tonight we're going to do a couple. We're going to start with breweries, since this is, after all, a beer show. The Mount Rushmore of something means your top four. What faces or what companies are you going to put if you were to etch them in stone on the side of a mountain? What would they be for you? So, that having been said, I like to consider myself more of the novice on the show, even though I've drank a lot of beer now in the last 4 or 5 years, but not quite as experienced a palate as the other three. So let me do my Mount Rushmores first, because I think I'm coming from more of a neophyte point of view. On my Mount Rushmore of beers, I see first a gigantic bottle of Shiner, specifically Shiner Bock.
There's a surprise.
Yeah, Shiner Bock is probably my favoriteest of all beers since I started drinking it, 10 years ago now. And we just did a Shiner unit a little while ago, and pretty much to a T, each one of them were received very well by the guys. And I have not found one beer that I have not, other than the Ruby Red, which is kind of a grapefruit beer. I didn't particularly care for that one, but that's only because I don't like grapefruit. Shiner can do no wrong in my mind. The next one, a Beta, out of Louisiana. A Beta beer, Purple Haze, Strawberry Harvest, the list goes, the Amber, oh my gosh. A Beta is a great beer company that really does a variety of, and just a great mix of different beers. And every spring, when the Strawberry Harvest beer comes out, my sister-in-law and I quickly go grab a couple of 6-packs. They're not as hard to get as they used to be, but really good. Sam Adams is also on my Mount Rushmore of beers. They are obviously a larger scale craft brewing company, but some of the things that they make, and we've had some hits and misses with Sam Adams over the years, but for the most part, Sam Adams is really great work. Their fall harvest series are great. Summer series is pretty good too, and just their regular lager is just fantastic. And then my final face, or my final bottle on the Mount Rushmore of U.S. breweries is Alaskan. Last year, I went up on a cruise to the Alaskan, up through past Vancouver, up to the Alaskan, through Anchorage and stuff, and Alaskan beer, obviously a big on-tap selection at all the cities and towns we stopped at, and fell in love with their Alaskan Amber. Just a delicious beer, and tried a few of them, but the Amber was my favorite. So those are the 4 that I would go with: Shiner, Abita, Sam Adams, and Alaska. Guys, any ones that you just... Now, I don't know, we all have different ones. Some of us have some same ones, but we all have pretty varied tastes. Any ones that you think just have no business being a part of that Mount Rushmore?
No, I think those are. It's kind of an interesting thing because it depends on how you pick the beer too. Sam Adams is a really important craft brewery, and they've done a lot to make beer more accessible to a big population, and they make good beer. So I can see where that definitely would belong there.
It's certainly not been really pushing being the anchor or the foundation of the craft beer revolution in America, and you can't really argue with Sam Adams there. Historically, they need to be there. Someone needs to have them there, so I'm glad it was you, Rob.
Cool, thanks. All right, so moving along, we're going to have Keith's Mount Rushmore of U.S. brews. Hit it, buddy.
First up for me, and these aren't in any kind of particular order, but it's kind of the way I thought of them, so I guess I think of this first. As Brooklyn Brewery, out of New York State here, is just kind of one of my favorite go-to craft beers. Do they do excellent experimental brews and specialty brews? Baseline of regular ambers and lagers is equally as good, and that's not something a lot of places. The weirder or more esoteric stuff, and they're fairly selective about what they experiment with, versus like Sam Adams, where it kind of throws everything against the wall to see what will stick. Brooklyn seems more cared and specific about what they bring out. So if I had to have one brewery to drink from, it would probably happily be Brooklyn. Second, again, is more of a historic. Sam Adams, probably the second historic craft beer company, has got to be Dogfish, at least on the East Coast. On some amazing brews as far as specialties and one-offs and stuff, and they have done some absolute crap. But they put it all out there. They do generally a good job, and their base beers are also excellent. You really can't find much better East Coast IPAs than the 90-minute and 120-minute IPA from Dogfish Head. So it's really it's a must-have, and that's also one of my first with Dogfish too, where I finally really said, yeah, I kind of like craft beer. Third for me, and I'm seeing and Jeremy,
Of course,
but Taha,
naturally.
you got to go first. Well, you guys gave it to me, so it's your fault, really. Is have the best beer in America and not be on the Mount Rushmore? You just can't. And I know Rob will argue all day long about is not just by our opinion, but by most beer snobs nationwide, the best IPA in America. And also, I've had a sampling of some of their other stuff that Jeremy sent over, some of their sours. Just amazing. Really can't go wrong there. So someday I'm going to get out west and have everything. And then the last one is I felt I needed to account of the stouts and the darker beers and the porters and things. And my favorite one for both light and dark beers is Oscar Blues out of Colorado. They do some of the most amazing stouts. Specifically, I can't think of the name of it right now. What is it? 1050.
1050. Yeah.
Stout.
That's man.
Just slightly boozy, but just an amazing beer. But also, they do Gubna, which is one of the first really super hoppy beers that I actually liked. Outstanding beer. Is one of my favorite pilsners. They take regular beer styles and just punch them up, and they do such a good job at it. Oscar Blues in Colorado. That's my 4.
All good picks. I don't really drink Dogfish Head anymore because I'm tired of overpaying for their beer. But all of the other ones I would drink regularly, and some of them I do.
Yeah. Dogfish Head is definitely pricey. Even here on the East Coast, it's got to be West Coast.
Yeah, I give them credit for their experimentation and they've been around for a long time and they have done a lot to bring craft brew to a lot of people. But I'm just not a fan anymore because of I guess probably the price.
Well, combined with not every beer they make is a home run.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
If you're going to spend $10 on a bottle, you really want it to be good, and you don't want Dogfish Head like you are with like Brooklyn.
I don't think you.
I with every confidence I can grab a Brooklyn beer, even one I've never heard of, and I know it's going to be great.
I don't think you can call yourself a craft brew and not expect that you're going to have some stinkers.
Yeah, but you don't have to release it.
That's true. We saw that with Saranac, right?
Good point. All right, so Jeremy, what is on your Mount Rushmore of U.S. brews? I see some similarities to Mr. Keith.
So I've gone more with beers that are, or breweries that are a little more experimental, rather than big, influential breweries. I think maybe with the exception of Russian. Russian, everybody loves them except Rob. So Russian River, they do a great variety of both IPAs and sour, spontaneously fermented beers, which I really love. Number 2 is San Francisco's own Almanac Brewing, home brewer turned professional brewer, and doing great barrel-aged and sour stuff. Number 3 is Stone. I love their IPAs, but I also really like their support of the homebrew community. They sponsor a competition, and they're actively support a lot of homebrew stuff down in San Diego, it appears. So I had to go with them. And number 4 is Anchorage Brewing, again doing interesting stuff with barrel aging and Brettanomyces and sour beers. and combinations that you would think would be strange, like an IPA with Brett aged in wood, that turn out to be just phenomenal. So those are my 4: Russian River, Almanac, Stone, and Anchorage Brewing.
Sour beers are the next.
Yeah.
I'm going to see a rise in sours.
Now, you notice I have not thus far, and we will hear the name Russian River again in a moment. I have not disparaged you for putting them on your list, even though I think they make the single worst beer ever created. There are many, many others who feel just the opposite of me. So,
As in
most
of the
Keith,
world.
you need to get some Heady Topper, and we need to do that on a show to see if.
Oh, that's good stuff.
To see if that.
Yeah.
Heady Topper is
see
good.
if that dethrones Pliny as the worst beer.
It's hard to
America
come by
for
even
Rob.
here in New York, though. But if I ever do get, I'll send it out for sure.
That's good stuff.
all right, so Gary, your Mount Rushmore.
So the first person to put their stuff in the notes goes last and gets half of the brewery stolen. So, but then I get to change them on the fly.
You did change them.
I did. Russian River obviously was there, but since it's already been picked twice, I'm not going to do it again. I am going to stick with one of Jeremy's, and that is Stone, because Stone, I mean, they do so many different kinds of beers. They have their Arrogant Bastard and their Stone IPA, which are kind of staples, mass-produced beers in a lot of places, and both really good. But they do so many different series of different kinds of beers, and they do them really, really well. They do stouts that are just amazing. They do IPAs that are just amazing, and with such variety, and barrel aged stuff that's not barrel aged. It's just amazing the number of different types of beers that they actually brew, and even within a variety, the number of IPAs that they brew is almost astonishing and hard to imagine. So Stone gets a lot of credit for that, and they're moving into Germany, which is the first American brewery to do that. So I think that's pretty cool. I think I'm going to go with Deschutes next. Deschutes out of Bend, Oregon. They've been around for a really, really long time. Started as a very small brew pub and have grown into one of the largest craft brewers in the country, and have been influential in bringing beer to the forefront, craft beer to the forefront, especially in Oregon. I mean, they essentially host the craft beer festival in Oregon every summer. And they make a lot of really good beers. Next, I'm going to go with Sierra Nevada, because they have been around for a very, very long time. And I went to Chico State, and when I turned 21, of course, I drank pale ale. And pretty much these days, if you go into a bar and you order a pale ale and don't say anything else besides pale ale, you're going to get a Sierra Nevada pale ale. It's one of the first craft beers to really go national, probably besides Sam Adams. You can get it on airplanes and everything now, and I think that is a good thing. And they, again, were probably influential. One of the, I would say, with Sam Adams and Dogfish, probably the third brewery that really pushed craft beer into mainstream.
It was definitely like West Coast Sam Adams.
And that's like the reference for pale ale.
Yeah, they're the standard for pale ale. And they do a lot of really good, interesting smaller batch brews too now. They're starting to branch out and get into that game as well. They had a fall seasonal pack that I just had a few out of that, like a Vienna Lager and Oktoberfest. They're all really good beers, so they're doing a lot of other things. And last, I'm going to have to go with Lagunitas, only because they're in Petaluma, and I can drink a lot of their beers, and I get access to a lot of different things that they do, and have tasted many things at the brewery that people don't get as production beers. And they do a lot of experimental things that don't necessarily make it into the marketplace, into bottles, and that get distributed. And like Sierra Nevada, when you order a pale ale, you think Sierra Nevada. Around here, you order IPA and you get a Sam it's not a Sam. Oh my God! You get a Lagunitas. They kind of defined IPA, many years ago, as the Lagunitas IPA is the IPA, and then other breweries have really latched onto that in a lot of ways. But as a straight regular IPA, theirs is definitely what I would think of as one of the standards that you compare others by.
Interesting. Okay.
I think of
Yeah.
that was my first and definitely my most the beer I was biggest influenced by from Lagunitas.
Yep, they do a lot of good stuff.
Just a lot of good choices out there.
A lot of good breweries.
I feel almost like of a funeral dirge. If I had to, what I'd say.
More of a desert island beers.
Well, that's
Yeah,
a topic I'd love to do another day. Your desert island topic. I mean, this is like if you could only pick one to have with you for the rest of your life.
And we did limit it to U.S. breweries, so
We did. So there's
a whole
lot out there.
other thing.
I almost did mine as all New York breweries, but I thought that wasn't fair.
I thought I stuck with all California, but Deschutes is Oregon, so
Close enough.
yeah.
I did 2 East Coast, 2 West Coast.
I was all over the place, so thank you.
You were.
All right, we got another Mount Rushmore coming at you. We'll do this one a little quicker, just for fun. The Mount Rushmore of inventions. Gary, you had to go last, so now you get to go first. What's your Mount Rushmore of inventions all time?
So
You gotta change them all again because the show note guy loves it when you do that.
No, I'm not gonna change them all again. I'm gonna leave them. So I thought that we would forego the ballpoint pen and the wheel and the printing press because those are so passe or cliche type of things.
Well,
so,
thank you. You just took up half of my list, so I appreciate that.
Yeah. Good.
Excellent.
Well, think of something original. Everybody, those are obvious. So my first one is the computer mouse because that changed the way people interact with computers. It really led to a lot of innovation in devices, and you owe a lot of your touchscreen device functionality to what was done with the computer mouse. And at the time it was created, it was truly a revolutionary idea. The second thing I have on my list is beer because we just can't live without it. The third thing on my list is actually Ethernet. Rob thought I meant internet, but no, I meant Ethernet because before you had the internet, you had to have the lower level protocols of Ethernet. And that's really what all of our internet rides on. And if we didn't have that, the internet really wouldn't exist. And it's a good protocol that has stood up for a long time and is not going away. I can't even see it being supplanted by something else. So if you're not a networking kind of person, you probably go, yeah, whatever. But Ethernet is incredibly powerful and really is the basis for most of our daily lives these days. My fourth pick is birth control because as an invention, man, I got to tell you, the world would be more populated and be probably more populated with more stupid people if we didn't have birth control. So I think that just as a species, being able to control the production of our species is a very critical, important thing, and has certainly made my life more enjoyable by being able to have birth control.
You know nothing, Jon Snow.
Oh, you definitely need to keep that drop. We're going to be using that a lot more often.
Who's up next?
Even though my list is disparaged, I will not disparage Gary's list. I'll take the high road. Jeremy, what's your Mount Rushmore of inventions?
So for inventions, computers, of course, can't live without those. Beer, because you can't live without that. And that kind of beer, fermenting, distilling, that whole thing. But since we're a beer podcast, I'll say beer.
We have literally discussed on the show before that beer. There are many stories out there that beer probably saved millions of lives during the plague.
Oh, sure.
Oh,
Middle Ages in general.
Yeah, good stuff.
It's still saving lives.
Humanity in general,
Yeah.
Probably as a species was saved by the fact that
We'd be a much
had to
sadder
drink beer.
place.
Mm-hmm.
My number 3 is a bicycle, efficient transportation, and number 4 is photography.
Why photography?
Because it's a way to record the world around you, and it changed the way people were able to see things.
Now,
You can have an accurate record of something that will persist for centuries.
yeah, I ask open-ended questions on occasion, Gary, so people can expound on what they believe.
I like Gary's explanation.
Sounds like Gary's might need to go out and get some birth control. He's a little uptight. Keith, your Mount Rushmore of inventions.
I tried to keep mine to my life. So mine are a little more. So beer is not on the list. Sorry, I'm not that old. But the cell phone and tower and cell tower system, came about in the 70s as a method of or an idea for long haul truckers to be able to better communicate all the way back to wherever they were started from, and turned into something that is so ubiquitous today for communication, but not just communication, but for internet and data transfer. Cars, and it's just ridiculous the innovation that has come forth from that. And so as a foundation technology that just changed the world, that was definitely probably the biggest one for me. Second, I was going to steal Gary's, but you let him go first.
You can only steal one of my picks per show.
I guess so. I got a limit. Ethernet, networking, and the internet in general, all of that is based on TCP/IP protocols that were back even before Ethernet were used in token ring. So there you go. I'll go back farther than you.
Yeah.
But to computers talking to each other, that started to lead to computers talking to each other over long distances, and has changed the world so much for the better. Is again combined with the cell phone in the tower, putting that same technology, mind staggering, boggling as to what it changed in the last 40. So third for me also piggybacks on those two technologies, and that would be streaming video, which is going to supplant what everybody else grew up with in previous generations as both TV and radio. So, and porn, as Gary says.
So the streaming video and the birth control go together.
Yeah.
There's a connection there.
Well, the streaming video for me is more of a family event, and it's how I consume all of my media now. I get Sunday afternoon football over the air, and that's the last thing I get in some form of streaming way. And to think that there are still and cable providers and satellite providers, just it is almost as mind-boggling. But I can't longer. And last is going to get away from the computers and technology stuff a little bit, and we're going to go with LED lighting. Kind of it's still new in many parts of the United States, very expensive, but it's amazing how much better that made the light bulb. The original invention of the light bulb was beautiful and a wonderful thing, and such a monumental leap forward again. The little transition we have of fluorescence was terrible. It is so much better. Such a natural light.
Yeah.
Just so little power.
Yeah.
It's going to be another one of those things that we're going to look back on years that we had, and it happened in my lifetime.
Picks.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So my Mount Rushmore, I'll tell you right off the bat. Gary disparages them.
Sorry,
That's okay.
I wasn't looking at it.
It's quite all right. Because what I thought about when I thought about the Mount Rushmore inventions, and I applaud Keith for doing ones during his lifetime. I think your Mount Rushmore is your Mount Rushmore. That's why this is such a great exercise. But mine are specifically inventions that led to explosions into other things, other inventions, other ways of thinking, other cultural advances, things like that. So my first one, of course, would be the wheel. It allowed cultures to travel not only bring their goods, bring their services, but bring their communication, bring their language, bring their customs to different places that never would have seen it otherwise. You can kind of pair that with paved roads that the Romans did, but without the wheel, those things just simply would not be possible to the extent that they are today. My second one is the printing press. And the printing press, along with the same thing with the wheel, allowed for the transmission of ideas in a way never conceived of or thought of before. I mean, when you had to literally handwrite stories, books, letters, Bibles, things of that nature that would take years to do for some of the larger works. And books used to be confined to people like royalty or the church, and to find a book in a common person's home was unthought of. And so they were not able to experience those ideas and think upon them, philosophy, science, all those things. So the printing press made all of that possible and led to, again, kind of the world being able to come together, share ideas, and expand upon them. The home computer, and the guys put on computers, and those was certainly a great invention, but I don't think that the computer had as great an impact on society as the home computer did, for much the same reason that the printing press allowed for things that people would never had access to before. Even before the internet came around, home computers were able to do. And my last one would be the internet. And just like the wheel is kind of led to be the highways of travel, and the printing press the highways of ideas, and the home computer, the internet kind of exponentially dwarfs all of them. The idea that we can communicate with someone around the world in a fraction of a second, share ideas, share files, share video,
Podcasts.
send documents, podcasts. Yeah, absolutely. The internet is just simply, I think, probably one of the greatest inventions of all time. And I guess we have Al Gore to thank. Appreciate it.
Here's the Al Gore.
And Gary has a couple of times in our little side chat window mentioned porn, and it should not be discounted, at least in the last 25 years, that actually porn has also been a great driver of innovation. The rumor is that Blu-ray became the predominant high-definition movie format of the last 15 years, mostly over HD DVD, because more kids were using the PS3 and had porn. And that's the rumor why Blu-ray won out over HD DVD. So
that's why VHS won out over Beta.
Yeah.
Yeah, VHS was chosen as the format for
so shouldn't discount that as well. Kyle, and it all kind of ties back into birth control, Gary. So full circle.
It does.
Yeah, really. I mean,
Nice
all of this with one pick, I think it would be.
There you go.
Porn.
Yeah.
So quickly, we're going to go now, and Keith's going to get our music ready now to our Half-Pint segment, our picks for the week. Gary likes the short bumper music. Well, there you go. So let's pop through these real quick. Jeremy, you do yours first. Under the Knife, a video podcast. What's this about?
So this is a little video podcast about the bad old days of surgery before anesthesia. It's a relatively new thing.
Can't even imagine.
Yeah, it's a relatively new thing from a doctor that has a blog called The Surgeon's Apprentice, which is all about that kind of weird diseases, weird history of surgery and medicine, and how we got to where we are today in medicine. And the video podcast is a new thing she's doing. Really, I don't know if you like semi gory medicine-y stuff, you might really like it. And I'll put a link to her blog in there too in the show notes in case anybody wants to check that out.
Awesome. All right, so Gary also has a podcast he wants to talk about, one called Clockwise.
I do. This is Clockwise is a podcast. It's a tech podcast. kind of more Apple tech podcasts and general tech. But they do 4 topics because there's 4 people that are on the show. 2 are regular, 2 are kind of rotating, and they each bring a topic and they talk about each one of those for 5 minutes, and they keep the podcast to under half an hour. So it's an interesting. Usually there's good topics, and it's nice because they do keep it quick and short, and you don't go on and on and on like some podcasts that I'm familiar with.
What an interesting concept. A short podcast.
So this isn't so much a pick that Gary really likes as much as it is a lesson or some kind of moral.
Both.
He's trying to teach us. Nothing wrong with an hour podcast.
There's nothing wrong with an hour podcast. I listen to lots of hour-long podcasts. It's just nice to mix it up with something that you know you're going to just kind of go boom, boom, boom through, and you're done.
Yeah.
So true. Keith, I love trains, and your pick is all about trains.
It is. Actually, my pick is all about finding stuff to do with your 2-year-old. 2-year-old happens to be actually she's almost 3. End of the month she'll be 3, but she's way into trains right now. It started, of course, like every kid does with Thomas, expanded into other things where she actually crafts trains, Tupperware, and my bottle cap collection, my beer bottle cap collection, on the living room floor, and I get to look at these marvels as I come home every day. So, and she loves to sit, but not repetitive. Gets bored with the same old apps all the time. Train app today, and the tiny games of the 8-bit games of that ilk that are really popular also make a game called. And it's very similar in idea to some of that other stuff. Good. You set up your trains. The trains have specific tracks and lines between cities. You choose. It takes time to get there. You can boost money, but you don't have to. You can play the game, and usually, if you've got enough trains, you don't need to be worrying about spending real money yet. At least not yet in the game. It's 8-bit graphics combined with some interesting, what looks like real-life bokeh of trains, backgrounds of trains and stuff, because it has this really interesting 3D field where the train, the 8-bit train, is in focus, and the trees that pass in front of the train are in focus, but the trees behind the train are all bokeh'd out. So it really has this interesting depth to it. But it's really fun. It's really simple. It's basic, but it's interesting enough for me to want to play, and of course she loves it because it's about trains, and there are certain things on there that she can do as we watch the trains go by. She can collect the money and stuff like that. So it's a really good game. It's free on iTunes, and if you liked Tiny Tower, Tiny Death Star, or any of those type of games, then you should look at Pocket Trains.
Very cool. All right, my pick for the week is an iOS app also. Actually, originally it was a board game, one of the older board games out there among hobby gamers, and it's called Galaxy Trucker. Galaxy Trucker is a game where each of you play a ship captain trying to deliver goods from one point to another. And that kind of sounds boring a description until you find out how it's actually accomplished. When you play the game, and this is the same for the iOS app, you have a whole bunch of turned upside-down tiles that have ship parts on them. Engines, shields, crew cabins, guns, batteries, all that kind of stuff. And when the game starts, it's a mad dash for everybody at the board to kind of turn over tiles and quickly grab them to put them in kind of with all these different types of pipe connectors and try to make some kind of ship that will get you through each individual stage. The problem is there's no way to account for every single problem you'll come up with during the course of a round. So you just kind of have to focus on a few things and hope that it'll work for you. After that stage is done and your ship's put together, you go on these little journeys, these little missions where you may encounter asteroids, slavers, vacated ships, planets to pick up goods from, enemy rebels, things like that. And sometimes things go badly wrong and your ship can be damaged to such the point that parts of it can start falling off. So it's not even so much that winning is the ultimate goal. It's more fun to see just what happens to your ship from point A to point B. The iOS app has not only live play but asynchronous play, and they figured out a really good turn system for that that tile picking thing, and the campaign is really cool. It teaches you how to build the ships as well. So Galaxy Trucker is a very, very fun game. I was a little worried when they announced the app that it wouldn't really capture the fun of the tabletop, because it really is like kind of a mad dash at the beginning to put your ship together. But they've done a really good job. It looks the same as the board game, so and not very expensive either. So I'm going to go with Galaxy Trucker.
Yeah, I think it's on sale now for a limited time. I think it's going to go up in a little bit. You should definitely pick it up now.
So is that one that you can play with multiple people and against the
Yes.
computer?
You can play. Now I will tell you that the multiplayer interface is a little wonky right now. It's not the best for finding a specific game that you're trying to join with your friends. But once you're in the game, it does support, I think, up to 4 players. Multiplayer is either asynchronous or live. So yeah, once you're in there, it does great.
So and the AI is pretty good.
Yeah, the AI is pretty good, and like I said, the campaign does
Yeah.
a very good job at teaching you the better ways to build a ship, because you won't be able to go on to the next stage unless you can survive the stage that you're on. So you got to kind of figure out ways to come to grips with the stuff that you're going to face, better ways to build a ship.
Maybe I'll check that out.
It's a bit of an animal, and it's in the campaign. A lot of fun doing it, but I'm looking forward to maybe hooking up with Robin, maybe some other people to do
Absolutely.
some asynchronous soon, because it looks like a lot of fun.
And it wouldn't be too much to have your kid next to you to play it as well, because it's kind of fun too to watch. Put things together.
The art is interesting too on the iPad. It definitely has the board game feel. It transfers over without looking like the Monopoly board thrown on a computer screen. It
I will
has
tell you that
has that nice kind of flat feel, like you're looking at it from across the table.
the tile art and the card art is exactly the same from the
Yeah.
board game to the app.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah,
really
it's really kind of cool. Rob and I were kicking this around a couple weeks ago, and we never came back to it, but it's definitely something we should
Yeah,
do.
it's very cool. So that's it for me, and that is actually also going to be it for the Pine of No Return show, as we are closing in on 1 hour. A couple times during the picks, the Mount Rushmores and the picks, I kept looking down at my empty mug and wishing there was more island.
I'm right there with you.
I poured through that whole pint and a half.
Yeah, that was a really nice beer.
Delicious beer.
How I felt when I got to the
Delicious.
bottom of the glass.
Oh, okay. At this point, we have not yet picked a beer for next week, or have we, guys? What we got?
We have.
Race or 5?
No.
No.
Oh,
Although that would be.
Well, that would be good.
I'm just looking at the chat screen. Beer Republic.
Anderson Valley.
Anderson
We do
Valley.
Anderson Valley beer.
Let's see what they call it. It's got a weird name. It's one of their Highway 128 series. It's the Kimmy, the Yink, and the Holy Ghost Ale. Or Goza Ale. So
So Anderson Valley, the Kindred, the Yink, and the Holy Ghost Ale. All right, that's going to be our beer for next week, and you're going to have to tune in for more insane fun that the Pine of No Return show furnishes you for free. So for Gary, for Jeremy, for me, I'm Rob. Once again, thanks for joining us. Come back soon. Good night, guys.
My private heart's veil, for life without liquor is to no avail. So bring me lager for life. I'd rather have lager than wine. I'll take a strong stout over.
Next up on Sci-Fi Inventions, the better living through porn.